Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to just go over a few of the homework questions. So I'm going to go into the Cengage system. So just as a reminder, you go through your Blackboard and we'll go into syllabus and MindTap information, which will bring up this listing, and we will click on Econ 212, which will bring up the Cengage page. So once that comes up, we're going to go into section 1. So we'll click section 1, which expands it, remember. We're going to start with chapter 1 and go down to the homework. So we'll click on the homework, and remember the ones that you'll actually be submitting will be the ones that say counts towards grade. So we're going to click on problems and applications. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to give you the answers to the questions, but what I am going to do is give you, I'm hoping, some hints so that you can go in the right direction with these questions. So we'll start with number 1. So problems and applications, question number 1. So we'll click on that, and at first, some people will find these homeworks a little tedious. So you have to remember the homework, they are challenging. The questions are definitely challenging, but that's done on purpose, is to really try and have you delve a little bit further into economics, use the textbook, the online textbook, to assist you. So keep that in mind as you're doing this. You definitely will want to set aside time. It's not something that you're going to sit down and be able to complete all of chapter 1 or even chapter 22 or all the other chapters in a half an hour. This is something that you need to be doing daily. Do the questions that you can on a daily basis, and I'll keep you kind of up to date with where we should be. So for question number 1, the primary thing that you want to think about that is being asked is it's talking about trade-offs. So as a quick reminder, a trade-off is something that you give up. It's what you're giving up. So just to kind of get going, question 1 starts with, which of the following describes some of the trade-offs? So again, think of what you're giving up, faced by a family deciding whether to buy a new car. And then you're to check off all that applies. So keep that in mind. That means there could be 3, in this case you've got 3 different choices, so all 3 could be correct, or maybe only one of the 3 would be something that you'd be checking off. So as you go through this, what you want to do is say to yourself, okay, an increase in the family's car payment means the family will be unable to afford a vacation. So when you read that, you want to ask yourself, is that something that the family is having to give up? Which is what a trade-off is what you're having to give up. If they purchase this car, well, not going on a vacation, you're giving that up. The second thing says, a newer model offers better protection and functions, but it is more expensive than an older model. So again, the question here is saying, is there a trade-off? Is this family giving something up when they buy a newer car versus an older car? And then the third one says the vehicle is available in several colors. The question there is anything being given up, or are those just choices that we have? So that's how you want to approach that. Let's go on. So you'll see question 1 has multiple parts. So even though it may say it's worth 1 point, each one of these questions is worth like 0.1. So if you miss one of the questions, or part of one of the questions in question 1, you're not going to lose a lot of points. Okay, so let's go on. This says, which of the following describes some of the trade-offs faced by a member of Congress deciding how much to spend on national parks? So again, when you start reading through these questions, you want to think about what, if any of these, is saying something is having to be given up. If something has to be given up, then that's going to be a trade-off. So the first one, national parks are essential to protecting wildlife from extinction. Now, I guess we could get into a good conversation on this, but simply from an economic standpoint, it's looking at, is something directly being given up here? second one says, money spent, so something being given directly on something, on national parks benefits park visitors, but alternatively, the money could be spent on highways to benefit drivers. So again, is that something being given up? And this is how you'll want to go through. You'll want to go through all of these questions on one in this manner. So again, question 2 reads, you have $20 in your wallet and you have a choice between using this amount to enter a baseball pool, which will give you the opportunity to win $80, and spending the money on buying something else. So this question is talking about what is the opportunity cost. And remember, keep in mind, opportunity costs are talking about what it is that you give up, what you're actually giving up. So when you read this question, be very careful. It does tell you that you could have entered into a baseball pool, which would give you the opportunity to win $80, but there's absolutely no guarantee that you'd ever win that money. So when you start reading through, these questions to see which of the following represents an opportunity cost, be very, very careful here, because remember, opportunity cost is just what we're talking about is your next best alternative, what it is that you could have otherwise have done. Okay, question number 3. So question number 3 says, a 1996 bill reforming the federal government's anti-poverty programs limited many welfare recipients to only 2 years of benefits. So this is saying basically that when people were having a hard time and weren't making enough money, for example, in 1996, the government here in the United States changed the laws, and they limited or made less the amount of benefits or help that they could receive from the government. So it was decreased down to only 2 years of benefits. So what this question is asking is, with the loss of these benefits, these welfare benefits that the people that were poor were receiving from the government, what happened to them? So this then continues to say, this change gives people the incentive to find a job, and then it has blank, quickly than if welfare benefits lasted forever. So what you need to do here, I'm going to click on it, is asking you, would they be incentivized, meaning would they really be pushed to want to find a job really fast now because they know they won't have as many benefits, or will they not be worried and not work hard, or they'll be less quickly to find another job? What do you think? If you're not going to have anything to pay your bills and you're not going to get any federal help, what do you think is going to happen here, is what that's asking. And then it says, as a result of the change in working incentives led by the 96 bill reform, the economy will be blank. So again, it's going to be a more or less efficient. So the idea here is what happens if more people start working? Do you think it's going to be more efficient or less efficient? Okay, question number 4. So again, when you first do these, this can be a little bit taxing because it's like you just have to get used to reading these, and you need to read them very carefully and slowly. And if I were you, I'd read them twice at least. So it says, because poor people are blank, so is it less or more likely to have adequate health care, guaranteeing everyone in society the best health care would likely blank decrease or increase equality? So what this question is asking is if somebody is poor, or meaning they don't have enough money, do you think they're going to have enough health care? That's what adequate means. Enough health care if they're poor. Are they more or less likely? And then guaranteeing everyone in society the best health care. So if we were to say everyone in society is going to have a good health care system, what would happen to equality, meaning the poor, the wealthy, and the people in between? what would happen on a equality level if everyone in society, like it says here, had the best health care? What do you think it would be? Would it increase or would it decrease? And then it says paying laid off workers unemployment benefits until they find a new job will likely blank increase or decrease equality. So again, if you don't have a job and your job is the one that was giving you the health care, what happens when you lose your job? And then it's asking, and then what's going to happen to efficiency? I'm going to continue. And then question number 5, again, it's fill in the blank again. So you have to do these very, very slowly and methodically. So as you go through these, you've got to think about, okay, in a country, so it says here, suppose Americans decide to save more of their incomes, providing banks with more funds to lend to businesses for investment. So businesses, remember, make investment into their business so that they can grow and expand. So if firms are investing or putting money into their business, what do you think is going to happen? This allows for faster growth in productivity or inflation, thereby blank, raising or lowering the overall standard of living. So this is kind of part of the essence of economics. As we become more productive as a society, guess what happens to standard of living? Well, it goes up because we're producing more goods and services. And then it says factory owners will, and then again you have to decide, is it lose or benefit, and so forth. So when you go through chapter 1 homework, you will want to take your time, methodically go through it, and when you feel comfortable, then submit your actual answer, because again, I cannot stress this enough, you only have one attempt.